Hi there everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. For Final Fantasy TCG recently, I've been trying to find inspiration for deck profiles that are a little bit outside the box so that people who are newer to the game and veterans to the game can both enjoy them equally. And I figured, how can I go about doing that? And recently I've played in a couple of regionals, some I've done well in, some I've done less well in, and I've been inspired by decks that I've seen that are primarily focused around a single game in the series. So what I want to do is I want to build a few decks for you all to look at that are primarily based on a singular game. So this one, for example, is going to be Final Fantasy VII. So I played against my friend Jonathan, who were in the regional in London on Sunday, playing Monofire, and I didn't do so great this time, unfortunately. Monofire is not my playstyle personally, but he was playing a Final Fantasy VII deck, and it was filled to the brim with big dudes and EX bursts, and I thought, and he made top cut. He did very, very well. So it made me think, so how would I build a deck like this, and how would I impart how to play a deck like this to others? So I've built up a deck for you guys to enjoy. So if you want to see how that deck list comes out, then stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we go into the deck list itself, firstly I want to announce the winners for my Lasswell giveaway that I performed for reaching 7,000 subscribers, which again, thank you all so much for your support of this channel. I've been expanding a little bit recently into more than just a TCG, and it's been going really, really well, so thank you very much for sticking around. But the two winners for the Lasswell promos are going to be Mark Tarbox and Brian San, so get in contact. It would be great to hear from you, and I'll be sending you guys those Lasswells as soon as I can. And as always, don't forget to check out all of the social links in the description box below, including Twitch, Patreon, and Discord, where we all discuss deck lists like the ones I'm about to show you, and guys can just get involved and get chatting with me and everybody else. So as you can see on the right hand side here, the nice thing about this deck in particular is the sheer volume of big guys and EX bursts that are in this deck. As a matter of fact, there are 33 EX bursts in this deck, so you are more likely to hit one than not when you take damage in this deck. So the other thing to bear in mind is that a lot of the cards in here are quite high costing, and that's why I've opted not to run Shantotto in here. However, one of the biggest plays you can make in this deck is a turn 1 Jessie, because Jessie makes Barret and Cloud cost 1 less, and honestly, as we've known from Yuna since Opus 1, all we've needed for this card to be useful is a half decent Barret, and we finally have one in the starter deck version of Barret. He's not amazing at 5 CP 9k, but at 4 CP 9k with the potential to keep adding cards to your hand and having an EX burst, this Barret is actually pretty good. And we already know how strong 5 CP Cloud is, and that's regardless of his CP cost, so if he's cheaper, then he's even better. And then we also have the Light Cloud from Opus 4, who is 10 times more relevant in this deck than any other because he pairs up with practically every forward in this deck. However, there are some non-FF7 characters in here that I do want to touch on, because I want you guys to know why I've picked them. Noctis is there because, honestly, Noctis is just one of Earth's best cards right now, and it's great at warding off early aggro. If your opponent's going to try and smack you with Laylas, Vikings, that kind of things, then you can play this down, you can block when you need to, you can not block when you need to and still remove things. He's got a Searcher in Ignis, which I'm running a single copy of, that makes him stronger and gives him Brave, which is great. He's just a very, very all-round good card, and not only he, but Cecil as well, despite his high cost, is just one of Earth's best cards. So because we've got such good value in terms of the number of searches we have in our backups, the number of EX bursts we have that are adding cards to our hand, and the number of forwards that we have that are cheaper than they should be, there's just, Cecil is actually probably the most expensive card in this deck, and he still killed things when he comes in, so he's getting his value too. With Tifa in particular, you'll notice I'm running 2 of the Earth Tifa and 2 of the Fire one from the starter deck, all the way back in Opus 1. And this is actually quite malleable. You can change the ratio of these to suit you. I actually think the Earth Tifa is the better choice of the two, but what I wanted is actually for Zangan to be able to search up either Fire or Earth CP, depending on what I needed at any given time. I did even contemplate running a Earth copy of Cloud from the starter deck, because, well, basically for the same reason. It means that your Zac can grab back Earth or Fire or Light, and it means that you just have a lot more options in order, for you to choose from in order to what to play. Vincent serves 2 functions in this deck. He's Final Fantasy VII, and he has an EX burst. And he's cheaper than he has any, he's a 3 CP deck thinning 7k guy that happens to be an FF7 forward for the sake of light cloud, and just is just a decent card. You could, if you wanted to, stick in a single copy of Opus III Yuffie if you wanted to make it so that Vincent has a little extra. But I haven't built this deck around Vincent in any way. I just wanted an EX burst that added cards to my hand because there's so many in here already. It just kind of fit the bill. But you could, even if you wanted to, reduce the number of FF7 cards and therefore the number of EX bursts you're playing in order to play a more kind of generally good Earth card like Wall or Dadaluma or something along those lines if you wanted to. But I've gone for as much FF7 in this deck as I possibly can while still keeping it to a competitive level. VII and Lise are in here primarily as Phoenix targets, but because this deck is all about just having big guys and being as strong as possible, I figured Lise was a really good card, and as you're taking damage, it means there is another reason for you to be okay with taking damage alongside Cloud, because if you're taking more damage, you've taken more EX bursts, which means you're getting more advantage to your hand. If you're taking damage, it means that Cloud does more damage, etc, 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 and Lise also buffs everybody across the board, so she's a great Phoenix target, certainly when you're at 5 or 6 damage, because suddenly your board becomes huge. And then VV is a classic Phoenix play, and again, it's great at warding off early aggro because you do want to try and get a couple of turns down. Your ideal turn 1 is to turn 1, get Jessie, your 2 turn 1s, you either get Jessie and another backup, and then turn 2 just play down a Barret, or turn 1 you play Jessie, turn 2 you play Wedge to search for Barret, and then you have your Barret live. But setting a precedent early with Barret is really important in this deck because your opponent has to answer it really quickly, much in the same vein as somebody like Zidane. He's just that much bigger and he, grabs specific cards. And, again, that's why I wanted to put Vincent in here, because I didn't want to end up missing too often when it came to Barret's attacking effect. The backup lineup's actually really, really simple to explain because you actually only care about 2 of these backups. The rest of them are there as search, just there to search for cards or to be targets to grab back with Barret or things like that. But as long as you get Jessie down and as long as you get a Zangan down, you're good to go. You're giving Earth Tifa haste makes her a potentially 2 CP Brave Haste attacker that can deal 10k whenever she wants, and that's very, very strong. But having certain tech choices in here is paramount to any deck, and I've gone for obvious reasons, more EX bursts that tend to be removal. So I've gone for Raobarn because if you've got a cheap Cloud or a cheap Barret out and you're dealing more damage than you should be, then Raobarn fits that quite nicely and happens to be an EX burst as well. And similarly, Black Waltz 2 wards off all these horrible little buggers that are trying to get in cheeky damage to you, so you don't have to worry too much about taking damage. The only card I can see being a problem in terms of early aggression would be Archangel HM, because he can deal lots of damage quickly, and Noctis isn't going to kill him, certainly not without killing himself, and you just got to be very careful of that particular card. Just block it and get rid of it, or remove it in whatever way you can by playing a Black Waltz from your hand, playing a Raobarn from your hand, S-effecting it with a Tifa or a Lise. I did actually contemplate running 3 Lise in here just because her S-effect is actually quite good, but I decided that 2 was the right number. Lulu is similarly just it's extra removal. Most of the backups in here are sticky, so if you end up with a Zac or a Marlene or a Wedge that you don't want anymore, or even a Zangan, if you want to replay a Zangan, you can do that. Just use Lulu and remove something, and then therefore you have space to play another backup. Lael is there primarily just to protect Barret, if nothing else, because if Barret keeps attacking, you're going to win the game purely on card advantage alone. So if you've got a way of keeping him alive that is nice as a one-off, but you don't have to have it, because if Barret dies, it's not the end of the world. There are 3 of them in the deck, and Marlene can grab him from your break zone. So it's not the end of the world if he dies, but if you can keep him alive, then fantastic. The summons in here do have quite a lot of wiggle room, which is quite nice, but I've tried to go as heavy into the EX burst route as I can so that I can capitalise as heavily on having 30 plus EX burst in a 50 card deck as I can. Your Jimbo and Titan work very, very well with cards like Noctis, who obviously has that kind of mechanic built in, and because we have cheaper versions of value forwards, so 9k 4CP, Zac and Barret and Cloud, or a 2CP 7k Cloud, things like that. And if you have a Lise out, your guys are going to get stronger. So things like your Jimbo and Titan have EX bursts that are actually going to be relevant to you. Particularly your Jimbo, because if you get an EX burst on it, it's stronger than it should be anyway, and Titan is a one-sided fight, so all of your guys, certainly the 9k guys like Cecil, Barret and Cloud, should be killing most things off of a Titan, but Do try and bear in mind the idea that you could change one of these to a one-off Fenrir if you wanted to, because if you have a lot of cards like Veritas of the Dark or Galdirs in your meta, then Fenrir is actually a great card to remove those. And I don't know why I didn't mention it, because I knew the card was so good when I talked about Veritas of the Dark last week. And then Belias the Gigas is yet another combat trick. It draws cards, it's an expert that draws a card, so we like it for that reason alone. Giving Barret haste can actually be really nasty because you can just plus off of it immediately. That can be really helpful. There's just a lot of really good reasons to run a lot of fast, hard-hitting guys. And in Phoenix, I tried to make it so that there were multiple relevant targets in this deck that will always be able to do something. If you don't have an FF7 forward out, then Cloud, Light Cloud, isn't going to be particularly good for you off of a Phoenix. But VII will. But if you do have an FF7 forward, then Cloud potentially is better than VII. And then not only that, but you can also do combat trickery by pulling in Elise during, like, because she might come in dull. But if your opponent attacks you, and you have a forward out, making your guy bigger, certainly by 2k, might be enough to swing the favour. So you could always kill one of their other guys and then block the guy that's attacking you with your existing forward, making Phoenix Elise play really strong. Or if you don't plan on blocking, you could always Phoenix back Noctis, because Phoenix is going to kill something, and then Noctis will then finish off something else, preferably the thing that's attacking you. So there's 4 different targets for Phoenix in here, and there's not tons of them, but all of them are relevant in their own right. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope that this FF7 deck is really exciting for you guys to play. It's great for people who are fans of the game but want something that will certainly carry them through their first couple of tournaments, and even some bigger ones I've seen this deck do very well at. So definitely let me know in the comments below what you think of this deck and what other games in the franchise you'd like to see a deck made out of that I think would work. I know which ones I'm probably going to be picking. The chances are I'm going to be building a Firewater Final Fantasy IX deck, an Earth Lightning FF14 Scion deck that's built for the new meta, and an FF15 Mono Earth deck, because I do think that all those decks are competitively viable. So as opposed to doing kind of like a starter deck evolved of sorts, I decided to take it that extra step further for this set and go with decks that are based on those games but are designed for tournament play. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, share, ring the bell for notifications, and check out all the social links in the description box below. And a big congratulations to the 2 winners of the Lasswell promos once again. So thank you very much for joining in with that, and I shall speak to you guys very soon. Take care!